Esther Tea Company chose Booth because she embodies the very definition of overcoming adversity, just as Esther did. Booth was raised in an affluent home that was not centered on God, but God had big plans for Booth's life. In college, it was Booth's husband that led her to her faith that eventually would keep her grounded throughout adversity. The decision to follow God changed her from the inside out. She now lives a life of serving others and relies on the power of prayer to get her through the storms of life. Booth loves God, her husband, and her son with her whole heart and prioritizes faith and family first. Thank you so much for inviting us into your house and for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm really appreciative. I want to start out by just telling you why we chose you, why Esther Tea Company chose you to honor. And the first thing I want to tell you is that when I think about Esther and who she was a true overcomer. And then when I think about you, there's no doubt you are an overcomer. In addition to that, you're just a light to the world. And it's really, really a privilege and honor to, I'm going to cry, to be here to honor you. And so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And in addition to that, I just wanted you to just kind of elaborate. When Denise interviewed you and she wrote your story, I was just blown away by how you gave credit to your walk with the Lord to your husband, Wood. And I'd like for you just to tell me a little bit about that.
So I did not really grow up in a home that someone would consider to be a Christian home. We went to church, Christmas and Easter, when you're supposed to make your appearance, and that was about it. So my knowledge was very limited and things like that. And then when Wood and I started dating, one of the first gifts he ever gave me was a red leather Bible with my name embossed on it. We went to NC State, which is probably why he chose your red one. But
you still have it?
I do still have it. It's probably on one of those bookshelves right behind you.
You should totally get it.
So it's the King James Version, though, and I don't understand that one as well, so it's not the one I usually read. But it's beautiful, and it's very, very sentimental. But that was kind of the start of my journey. And then had a child and knew we wanted to raise him in a Christian home, and I feel like we've definitely done that. And then when I had the very traumatic experience in my life, which I think is probably what you refer to with the overcoming,
right?
In regards to my dad's suicide and a lot of lies and betrayal with other family and other people I thought I was really close with at the time, but apparently was not. Overcoming that, and I really, really turned to prayer at that point, and I really found the Spirit of the Lord during that time, and it really changed me and the person I wanted to be for the rest of my life, and as a wife and a mom. So.
Oh, and that's so powerful, because I wasn't sure if you'd be willing to share about that today, but the whole point is for us to be authentic and real, and to show others that, sometimes when people look at us from the outside, they see this perfect life, right? And we all do this. We all judge. We all look and say, oh, they have it made. Like because look, you have this beautiful home. You do have an amazing marriage. Yeah. You have a husband. And I want to go back to that for just a minute, because finding true men who are leaders like that, it's kind of rare, to be honest with you. And what a blessing it was that he came into your life, and that he's such a strong presence in that way as a spiritual leader to you and Wood, but also just in life. Yeah. Because one of the things that Denise wrote in her article about you was just how he continues to guide you. And I think that's so powerful. But sharing that turmoil that happened in your life, like the truth is that it's exactly what you said. Happiness to me is something that people are always seeking, but happiness is fleeting. It comes and goes. Whereas joy, which comes from the Lord, is an internal, it's like living from the inside out.
Absolutely.
And
I think she agrees.
Do you agree that we're going to live from the inside out joyfully? And I just think that that's what drew me to you, is that internal joy. And so I love that about you. I just truly love that. And overcoming that and your walk is just so powerful. And I think it's important to share. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that, so even me, like whenever I very first started following you, I thought to myself, like, she's never going to give me the time of day because she's got this amazing life she's in with the right people. And I have just found you to be so loving and just so supportive of me and my journey. And I just want to say thanks for that. Like, for truly, like, it's one thing to say that you're a Christian and that you're walking that life, but to truly live it, you are that example.
Thank you. Well, you're quite inspirational yourself. So,
and I'm just grateful,
sure.
grateful for that.
So, I think the Lord brings people into our lives for a reason, and you and I meeting was one of those purposes. So.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Yeah. And that's the purpose of Esther. Besides the fact that your raspberry tea, have you tried it yet?
Yes.
Oh, everybody, Josh was drinking it today. It made me feel so good. So is there anything when it comes to like overcoming adversity, what would you say to people that look at you and think, oh, Booth has this great life?
You know, I actually deal with that. A lot of people, they don't know everything I went through, or they even think before that everything was perfect. Because, like you said, the appearances are often different than what the true reality is. And I have really found once you have that peace and contentment in your heart, that you can focus on that each day. Like that is your source of joy. You don't need the external factors. Like sure, there's external factors that may increase the happiness, like you said, but they don't necessarily increase the joy because that's a choice you've made. So when you have days where, you know, the weather's perfect and you get to go do lots of fun things, you know, I guess people just think that's happy, but you still have difficult times. A recent difficult time we had was losing one of our pets to cancer, you know, and obviously I love my dogs. And it was a really, really hard time, but even with the grief and the sadness, I still had a peaceful heart. And that's one thing that will guide you once you discover that.
It's so true. And I love what you said about, because joy to me is not circumstantial. And that's basically what you're saying, is that it's not based on events or things. And I think I heard something in a sermon recently that said it's a choice to rejoice. Yes. And that's what when I heard it, I was like, that's Booth. Like she chooses to rejoice. And it's just so inspiring.
I mean, some days are harder than others. You know, especially, you know, the anniversaries of dates and things of that nature. But when my head starts going down that path, I really just try to stop and just rechannel the thoughts to.
How do you rechannel?
I stop and I think about the good. You know, like if I start thinking about negative things, I try to focus on what I'm grateful for and start focusing there, and then just really shift the mindset towards those things. And
gratitude.
Yeah,
that's an important part of our lives.
And I mean, sometimes you really have to stop what you're doing and truly take a moment or 5 or 10 minutes, you know, and just really stop and focus and talk to yourself. And
it's true. I do think what we say to ourselves is important. You know, how we speak to ourselves. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of family.
So it's kind of funny because I always said growing up that I would never have kids.
Really?
I didn't like
kids. And you're such an amazing mom.
I didn't like kids. I didn't want kids. And I guess when this is the Lord's will, it just happens, right? So we had our son. We had been married a couple years when he was born. And yeah, like being a mom is just
the best.
It's just the best, you know. And I have loved every minute of it. You know, he's just my whole pride and joy. And you know, it's funny, as they get older, you have to start letting go a little bit, and it's hard. It's hard. It really is. But at the same time, there's a lot of joy in seeing them become a good person. So it makes me really happy. He's 16 right now, and 16-year-old boys are 16-year-old boys, but he's kind and he's grateful, and every morning when I hand him his lunchbox, he says thank you and gives me a hug.
It's the littlest things.
You know, it's the little things, but I'm very grateful that he is grateful. Like he's got a kind soul. So,
and that's your happy place, spending time with family, right?
It is. Yeah, it is definitely very much so. And my husband he's not always the easiest human being, and I can say that on camera because he would agree.
Are any husbands really?
But, well, no.
They probably say the same about us too.
He'll say that I'm a special person for being able to be married to him, but he really is deep down a really beautiful soul. He just doesn't want anybody else in the world to know that, so he wears this facade around him. But I really just being with them is definitely what I want to do all the time.
I love to see the real you. I love to see that what it is that we see from the outside is really what it is on the inside. And it's just been an honor and privilege to get to honor you.
Thank you.
And hopefully inspire others to be overcomers and to share their stories and to know that they're not alone. Like that's the main thing, because I know there's been times in my life that when I went through hardships or trials, we're not promised for life to be perfect. Mm-hmm. We're promised that we are going to have trials and tribulations, but we're promised that the Lord will be there with us. And I know that I have experienced that firsthand, that kind of love that's unconditional. And I love that you live that, and that you also are that, because you have a servant heart. You love to serve, like in lots of ways.
I do love to serve. After my dad died and we sold the businesses, I had a lot more free time. I still do some work, but have a lot of free time, and I serve on a lot of boards.
Do you really?
Yeah,
that makes sense as to why you were like, well, let's talk about it when I see you.
So our local hospice house, Crystal Coast Hospice House, I'm on their board, and also the treasurer. I think I'm the only CPA on the board, so I guess I became treasurer by default. But I'm on that board. I am on our county economic foundation, and then I'm on 2 committees with the housing assessment committee and the women in business conference,
right, which
committee.
I love.
So I'm actually having a meeting tomorrow, starting to plan next year's already. And then I do the finance committee for our church.
Oh my goodness. And you're a deacon in the church too, right?
Church, yeah.
Which, some people are funny about that. They're like a woman who's a deacon, right?
Yeah. So
that's a great, wonderful thing.
So I stay very busy.
Yes, and I love that. I think we're called to be salt and light, but also to serve. Yeah. And having a servant leadership heart is really important to me. And it's one of the reasons, another one of the many reasons that we chose you.
Yeah. Thank you. So, I'm honored to be chosen. So,
well, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for having us in your beautiful home and for sharing these sweet babies.
They make themselves quite at home with anybody. So
it's so fun.
Happy little baby.
Thanks again, Booth, for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.